So we were able to probably save a good $20,000 on shipping cost and purchasing furniture for that Airbnb, and then have the military move it for us for free.
The military taught us discipline, it taught us leadership, but it never taught us how to really build wealth and income. This is the Active Duty Passive Income Podcast, and I'm your host, Markian Sich, a United States Marine turned full-time real estate investor and educator. I'm bringing you the most successful military, veteran, and military spouse real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and industry experts to break down exactly how they did it, so you can too. So we've had Kaitlyn Dannhardt on before. Kevin was interviewing her, and she has taken a pretty massive step in what she's doing and how she's planning on impacting the world, leaving a footprint, if you will. So I'm really excited to dig into that because she has some strong messages for all military spouses out there, and I think we can have a really, really cool and interesting conversation here. So yeah, welcome, Kaitlyn Dannhardt. She's a military spouse, real estate investor, and author in the making. And so we're just going to call her an author already because we're making it happen. So thank you so much for joining the ADPI Podcast. Kaitlyn, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Markian. That was too nice of an introduction.
No. This is, I remember me and Katya were hanging out with you and Evan, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is your husband's name. And we were just chatting up about all sorts of stuff. And it was just, you guys seem really cool. And I can't wait to just, as a couple, we love meeting, entrepreneurial couples, and it sounds like you were the spark that started that in your relationship. So I'm curious to hear that story, and it made us really say like, hey, when we go to Alaska to visit finally, because it's my wife's dream to go see Alaska, we have somebody to hang out with. So yeah. And I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about based off of your story, but let's just start from the top. Like, as a military spouse, what got you to even want to explore anything entrepreneurial at all? And if you want to give us some more context by starting off with who you are, what's your origin story to give context to that, please do whatever you think will help. But yeah, that's how did you get from being Kaitlyn as a kid to now where you are as a military spouse and entrepreneur, real estate investor?
Well, to summarize it, because that could take, a while. But to summarize everything, I grew up in a household of two teachers as parents, thought that was the direction I was going. And I actually did go that direction. I got my degree at Texas A&M, and that's where I met Evan. And we ended up, the very first thing he told me when we met was, I want to be in the military. I want to serve. If there is a problem with that, walk away now.
Okay. Hey, he's upfront. That, a lot of people are not as upfront. That's probably a good thing, right?
100%.
Okay.
And so with that, I thought, well, that'll be cool. Half my family's military. I know all there is to know, right? They move occasionally. And so we ended up moving he was in medical school at the time, through the Air Force, or he was about to be, I guess. And we ended up going to Corpus Christi, Texas for his third-year medical school classes, I guess, rotations. And I ended up getting a job teaching, fell in love with it, didn't want to leave, thought this is the perfect career for me. I was teaching interior design and cooking and just having a really good time with it. And he found out during his fourth-year rotations, hey, I'm going to have to be in a different place every single month. Prayed about it. Thought, okay. Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess I'll, for 1 year, do this nomadic living with him, then come back to teaching. I had a guaranteed position when I came back. They were happy with me, thought this is where we're going. Well, long story short, we lived in, I don't remember if it was 13 or 16 different states that year. And we even spent some time abroad in Europe. And I realized, okay, I'm at this point an Airbnb guest in all these different homes abroad and domestic. And I'm realizing, I can do this. I'm smart enough to do this. And I was interviewing, asking questions of all the hosts saying, what are the horror stories they've had? What are the best things? And I feel like I really got this kind of masterclass in short-term rental hosting from my host that I was with. And so when Evan became active duty, he ended up going to Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. We knew that there would be a couple of away rotations is what we were told. And I thought, okay, well, perfect. I'll just find an Airbnb that a house that will be perfect short-term rental, and we'll do that. And it ended up being such a blessing because we found out that those 2 or 3 rotations that were a little bit, what's the word I should say? The truth was given, but they didn't want to scare us, I guess, into this program. We ended up finding out that it would be 6 to 9 months every year that we would be away on TDY. And so from that, we did the TDY hacking.
Whoa.
I would rent out our house when we were gone. I would travel with Evan. And the combination of BAH, having the guest bringing in income, and the per diem, like we were living like kings.
Oh, okay. So wait, I'm not familiar with that term. Did you guys coin this TDY hacking?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay, hold on. So what you're telling me is not ideal as far as like if you don't want to be all over the place, but financially you guys were crushing it because it sounds like you were banking your BAH and making some money off of. Did you? And I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. Did you guys buy a house and turn it into your first Airbnb? Is that what you did?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
we used the loan, 0 down with the VA loan. We're able to take advantage of that because we had no money. We were broke. We started off, I think, when we bought our house, we had like $1,500 to our name. And so many people think that they have to have money to start.
Right.
Not the case.
So you had $1,500 in your pocket. You guys end up at this duty station where it's going to be very different than what you imagined, but it forced you into a position to think creatively and do this TDY hacking. So you bought a house, basically, 0 down, VA loan, and your house hack for it was like this TDY hacking was like house hacking 2.0 is like when you guys are on TDYs, you're renting it out as an Airbnb, basically paying your mortgage with that plus some, plus you're banking the BAH, which is tax-free. So you guys are just rolling a bunch of cash into your bank account, sounds like.
Yes. And we had very little furniture at the beginning. I mentioned this when Kevin interviewed me a few years ago, but
sorry, I'm imagining the Airbnb pictures. It's like we have one couch.
No, I don't even think we had we didn't have a couch yet. It was like an empty house. We had.
Wait, how are you renting this out as an Airbnb without a couch?
Because I could beat the hotel rate. I could compete with the lakefront property. And so I did that, and I slowly built with whatever income we made from our guest. I would fill up the house with more furniture and decor to what it is today. It's stunning. And so that's what we did. And of course, times were different then. We started off with, I think, having 33 Airbnbs along the entire Mississippi coast. And now there's, I don't know, probably like 10,000 or something outrageous. So, obviously study your market, know your competition. And I mentioned to Kevin, I said, it's not about having the best place. It's being the most competitive. So if you can offer the best deal, then you're going to get business. And
not necessarily the money part. So it's competitive, but when you're saying that, I just want to dig into that term because it's not necessarily, it's the cheapest. What you're saying, it's like the most bang for your buck, right? Like maybe you guys had something that others that maybe were cheaper didn't have, but like dollar for dollar, bang for buck, what they get for staying with you. Like you said, it was like right on the water, right? Like that's what you're referring to. You had a competitive edge relative to the pricing you set.
Absolutely. And something else that I told Kevin when we were talking before was, my goal, we ended up being able to refinance it. But prior to that, my goal was to have the house paid off in 4 years and just to have massive cash flow. And we ended up not doing that. I changed my direction. I changed course. And that's something that I wanted to talk to the guest list or the listeners today is that have a plan, go with it, and know that it's likely going to change as different life circumstances arise. And so we found out that we were going to Alaska. We did that. We've had a couple of moves in Alaska. And what's been great about that is we've kind of done that same method of, okay, we're going to buy a house knowing that we're going to convert it into an investment property from the very beginning. So focus is not what my priorities are, but what's going to be the biggest advantage in the market looking at homes.
Right.
And then from there, it was just being very strategic. One of the things that we did that was very advantageous when moving to Alaska, because I did my research ahead of time, what is going to be the biggest stressors we have in moving? And people said, buying furniture, you end up having to pay so much shipping cost. It's insane. And so instead, what we did while preparing to come to Anchorage was I ended up having a garage storage unit and essentially in the Mississippi house that our guests didn't have access to. And I was going crazy on Wayfair and Home Depot, whatever, buying furniture that I knew with the guest in mind of what's going to not break, what's going to be the most, I guess, just guest friendly that's going to last. And something great you can do on Wayfair is check like what is the weight limit on furniture, things like that. You can look for commercial furniture and still get great deals on it. And so we ended up putting we were away on TDY, right? So I had neighbors who I was so thankful for that I gave a remote to, and they would put all of our packages in the garage while our guests were there. And I just told the guest, hey, just so you know, this is going to happen. They shouldn't be bothering you. Don't freak out. And so we were able to probably save a good $20,000 on shipping cost and purchasing furniture for that Airbnb, and then have the military move it for us for free.
Oh my goodness. I see what you did there. So, okay. Wow.
And so that's something to take into consideration of whatever your next duty station is. Be thinking like, okay, what are some of the obstacles I may have? Is it better to wait and purchase furniture later, or is it better to wait or to do it ahead of time? And the thing that was great is I could show the military movers like, hey, here's all my receipts. All this is brand new. None of it's broken. So if you destroy or lose any of this, here's the ticket.
It was the PCS documentation was very clean. Okay.
Yes.
Gosh, so TDY hacking and PCS hacking, these are all like 2.0, 3.0 versions of house hacking. Love it. Okay, so I want to dig into one little thing that I think you kind of just said in passing, but I think is very valuable. You were saying that you focused on finding a property when you went to Alaska that wasn't something you and Evan necessarily were like dying to buy. You bought something that you knew had an advantage in that market that Airbnb renters were probably going to be wanting to stay in. Very different mindset. So you were not going in there, hey,
we don't shop for ourselves.
Yeah, you're not. So you were, and I think that's incredibly important because like I'm a marketing nerd, so I'm like, and I'm like reinforcing this knowledge this week. Actually, I'm going through some classes like how important it is to serve the pain point, right? And so if somebody's like they're going to Anchorage and they're like, I need it to be this or that or the other thing because it would alleviate a pain point, it would make my stay better. You guys were putting your mindset, or you were looking through that lens, right? You were being a marketer, really.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the plan. And we did the same when we moved again. We are currently in Juneau, Alaska, and we ended up having an attached apartment to our home. And it was, just all about, so we're house hacking right now. Our guests are paying the majority of our mortgage. And so we have 3 homes and we're not really paying much for any of them.
So you're the queen of house hacking. It sounds like holy cow, this is epic. And like this isn't like your first house. You know what I'm learning from you guys right now is that you're very patient and you're comfortable with putting your needs down the road. Like, and that's what 100%. I mean by patient. I think there's a lesson overall in patience. I heard somebody say this recently, like. On average, the richest people in the world are patient people. Have you ever heard of the marshmallow experiment?
Yes.
Where it's like, and I don't remember who did this, but this is like a long time ago.
With the kids.
They put like a marshmallow in front of a 4-year-old. There's like, you can eat this now, Or if you wait 15 minutes, we'll give you another one. And what the crazy thing is they followed these kids along, and basically they found out that across all generally accepted success metrics, the kids that were more patient, that could wait for the 2 marshmallows, blew all the other kids out of the water. And so what I'm hearing is, I think like an unsung ticket or aspect of your all's mindset is probably the patience piece, because you guys are like, hey, we're buying houses not for ourselves. We'll buy our dream house someday, and it's going to be funded by these current houses.
100%. And the other thing too is we wanted to make sure that we did not have golden handcuffs wherever we were, wherever we end up.
Okay.
Every move is with Evan's profession, I think a lot of times with physicians, they are making all this money and their spending is so high that they get themselves really stuck into a situation that they don't like career-wise. And a lot of times that's for people, even in the military, they're thinking, I'm ready to leave, but I don't know how I'm going to be able to sustain this lifestyle.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
because of that, I have to stay in. And then, they feel this entrapment that maybe isn't the right situation for their family.
You know what? I think you're right. I mean, I know I felt that. I think a lot of military families feel that, where, I mean, let's call it what it is. The military will take its pound of flesh. We all know that. Like you might have to go on a detachment, a TDY, a deployment, or a bad duty station. Like your time will come. You'll have to go, stand duty on Christmas, all that kind of stuff we get. But there's also the flip side of it is it's a very consistent income. You get tax-free BAH. There is a comfort level, and it's hard to kind of like plan for what's after the military, because that's a comfortable blanket to sleep in, for 20 years or whatever for a lot of people. And especially if you're like me, where I realized early on, I was like, I'm not going to make a career out of this. I'm eternally grateful for what the military has done for me, but I just knew it wasn't for me. I wasn't going to do it 20 years, and trying to figure out how to replace that level of financial comfort, because it's just consistent, was why really I think I gravitated towards real estate. Because part of me had that drive and an ambition to make a better income for my family, because we had lots of ambitions of things we want to do. But another part of it was I also needed something that was consistent. That's why I fell in love with the concept of cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and also the concept of leverage and having other people pay off these savings accounts for me that we call properties. Like, what I mean? So yeah, no, I think that's really cool. And what is the next step for you guys?
So we also have a couple Turos, and so I have a vehicle in Juneau, a vehicle in Anchorage, because you have to fly between the two. And so whatever city I'm in, I'm like, okay, well, the other car is going to be Turoed. And where we're living right now in Juneau, I realized I need a second car. I can carpool. So both cars are Turos right now being managed. And something when it comes to scaling, I think when I had just hired my first property manager when Kevin and I spoke, but it was someone who I was still really overseeing everything. I was still it was like she was backup property manager, not the main one. And something that I've done since then is hired different property managers, and I've found them in numerous ways. Word of mouth is usually the most reliable, to be quite honest. But when you don't have that and you're in a new duty station and you're thinking, well, how the heck am I going to find someone? Or maybe it's a place that you don't even live and you're thinking, I just want to hire a good team. Something that I've done with finding people is going on Airbnb and seeing, okay, well, my main competition, what are those who are those managers? How many homes are they managing? It's really easy to just look and scroll down and click see the houses. Yeah. And so I would just message them as though I was a guest, and I would say, hey, not actually interested in staying. However, this may interest you. This is what I'm looking at doing. Please let me know if you have any desire. And so I would do that and I did that with Turo too. And through my Turo managers, and Juneau is how I found my property manager here, because they're just really connected and they worked alongside each other. And so we kind of can collaborate with that package deal, right?
So you outsource your Turo management as well?
Absolutely, because that's really can be annoying. It's almost a two-person job sometimes,
Yeah,
or
I
you have to
looked
take a
into it.
bicycle, or
Yeah,
you got
yeah,
to
I looked
Uber,
into.
and yeah,
Yeah, because me and like there was a brief stint where like me and Katya were looking into it because she's like, God, I really want to have like this. I think it was like the Porsche Panamera, like a really nice car, and I'm like, I mean, I was like, part of me was just like, okay, I can't. I hate
justify this.
I can't. Well, I hate spending that much money on a car. Like I know eventually I'll just be like just writing checks and not thinking about it. But like not there yet mentally at least. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I can't justify this depreciating asset costing that much.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And so I was like, well, what if? Like, so I started thinking like, well, what if it turns into a write off? And what if we do Turo? And then I realized how involved Turo was, and I was like, no, never mind.
Yes,
And it kind of died. But what you're saying is there are managers out there that if you have a car that's in high demand, you can probably still make some cash flow off of this and not have to deal with it really if you find somebody reliable.
absolutely. And the guy that I reached out to, he wasn't even managing for other people. He said, "Well, I actually hadn't thought about this." He had, I think, something like 10 of his own vehicles. He had this business
Okay.
going. And so we worked together and kind of created this
A
collaboration where I was
partnership.
his
That's
first a
beautiful.
partnership, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
so it's been great. And that's something else that people can do when they're on deployment or they're TDY if they have a spare vehicle. It's, hey, take advantage of this.
Oh my gosh, no. That is and I bet you're probably ending up making more money than if you did it yourself because this is what this person does all day every day and they're just more refined in their skills on it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're getting direct bookings also, instead of just all of these. They know the market. They have all these connections already.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel when there's someone who is already a master at it? Leverage that. Take advantage of it.
Love that. So, okay. So this also opens up another door to another conversation. So I'm a huge believer in who, not how, right? Just like the book, like the biggest mistakes, I say this all the time, the biggest mistakes I ever made was allowing the wrong people into my life, whether it's in my businesses or in my personal life, right?
Yes.
It's never like, yes, sometimes like, oh, we couldn't foresee because of XYZ that COVID would happen, and that would affect, like, I got it. Yes, there are things that we cannot control, but you don't ever feel that guilty or bad or regretful or emotionally, like it doesn't hit you as hard until when it's like people. Cause that because it's like a trust thing, it's very emotional. And the other part is like, it's just way more damaging because people tend to like, when you get involved with them, it has so many secondary, tertiary effects. And then I think it's because you feel like you could have prevented it if you just did a little better job vetting them. I know I feel that way. I hired a terrible contractor one time that put me into a bind that, like, I then didn't learn my lesson, hired another bad contractor, and this just dominoed into a 7-figure loss for me. And so it kills me because I'm like, if I just spent an extra 2 days dedicated maybe to just vetting this individual, I would have saved myself 7 figures. And so you're talking about finding property managers, and mind you, like basically like short-term rental property managers, right? That's a more intense operation. Turo management. How do you go about finding you give me some of the tactics, but when you're talking to these people, what told you know what, this is somebody I can trust?
So you only know what you know, right? And so
True.
a lot of times people just look at the dollars and cents and they're thinking, oh, well, this is the best deal. And I think you can probably attest to that not being true. Sometimes the biggest value is paying for the people who cost a little bit more and have a little bit bigger reputation. And so I think that's a huge thing that you will make a lot more money having a sound team. I got tired of babysitting. I got
Oh my
so sick and
gosh.
tired of babysitting. I said, I'm tired of babysitting adults. Why can't anyone follow through? And then I had to,
I
look back at
know.
myself and think, wow, Caitlyn, you went the cheap route.
Okay,
And
okay, a little
so
self-realization. Okay.
exactly. And I think just a lot of it is finding people who are already doing what you're doing and hey, who do you use? And just being very smart about I don't necessarily have to test out the waters with this person. Someone else can do that for me and I can take
Right?
advantage of their experience. that'll save some time, right? And so just connecting with people who've been there, done that. And I think a lot of people on this journey, they are givers. They're not the people who have resources. They didn't get it out of this greed of being afraid to share anything.
Right.
Yeah. They want to help other people. They want to mentor. They want to help someone not experience the same trauma that they went through. So I think that just connecting with others, that's kind of the biggest advantage that you have in this game.
I love that. So like really, and that's actually honestly the best advice I got for hiring a contractor as well was references, referrals, like having other people vouch for them. There's no replacement for that.
And not people who just, they're my friend and I've heard of them, but people who actually have worked with them. Yes.
Absolutely. Like not just like a random Google review, but like a person that has used them for a job where they had to put their own money into trusting this person. What was their experience?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So that's, and I also think that the reason why I love that is that this isn't rocket surgery, as Murph McCarthy would say. It's just find somebody that somebody else used and ask them how the experience was. The end. It's that simple. And better yet, find 2 or 3 people that have used them and see if there's any trends or patterns, or if it's resounding, hey, they're a problem solver, and no matter what life will throw at them, they'll figure it out on your behalf because they're awesome and you hired them and you're paying them money. Boom. Those are the type of people you want in your life.
Right. You want someone that someone else is comfortable putting their name behind.
Well, I love that too. That's a good way of looking, because like now it's an extension of their reputation, right?
Absolutely.
And then the tactical way you're saying is you just went to, Airbnb, found the top, little places to stay, checked out, and then you probably saw, okay, like 3 of the last 5 I looked at were all managed by this host. Let me reach out to them. That's basically what you did, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. These are some golden nuggets, everybody. Like if you're, I think there's something to be said about maybe spending the extra dollar, maybe spending a little bit extra time to find that person that's going to give you the headspace to then find your next deal, right? So even if it feels like you're spending a little bit more because you're finding somebody who's like, they're the top dog in that market to manage your stuff, it's probably worth it. You got to spend money to make money.
Yeah. And I usually try to I try to interview at least 3 people, and I base it off of, okay, did they actually show up when they said they were going to? Because that's a huge thing in the hospitality industry. And and what was their relationship with me? How friendly, how personable are they? Because this is going to be the face of my business, right? And so usually it's pretty easy to figure out who that person is.
Yeah. The funny thing is, and this, I'm going to be vulnerable right now. I used to be the most insecure about vetting people, interviewing people, hiring people. I for whatever reason, like there's a lot of skill sets like I know I had early on that like I could leverage to, like, for example, building ADPI, but one of them was not vetting people. And I'm just gonna be very frank. Like I'm blessed with an amazing team surrounding me, right? And we give each other our all, but like, throughout the early days, I was very much like, you like
you don't
real
know
estate?
how.
Well, yeah, but like, I was like,
people.
no, but I think it was also part of my personality. I like, because I know you were saying like, hey, like analysis paralysis versus doing homework. Those are 2 different things. I was almost afraid of even doing homework because I didn't want to offend somebody and me like digging into them. Now I'm so proud and confident of what I'm doing, like not in a bad way proud, that I'm like, I have no other choice but to actually dig into somebody because my family depends on it. The rest of the ADPI mission depends on it. We're not going to be able to impact 3 million military families if I don't do a good job of making sure that the team's awesome, right?
Yeah. Well, and with that experience you've had, now you know what questions to ask. At the beginning, it's really hard to know. And so that's why I think it's great to, okay, let me at least go with someone that someone else has experience with. And you kind of just get your feet wet and you learn as you go. You learn what annoys you off, what ticks you off, and that's going to be different for everyone. So I think it's just knowing that, again, what I said at the beginning, as far as being flexible, knowing that as you grow your business, and this is a business, you have to treat it like a business. As you grow your business, you need to know that things will change, employees will change. You're not married to the decisions that you make within your business. It's not like your life partner, right?
Yeah. And if you were to like maybe imagine yourself, or like let's just imagine, we have hundreds, sometimes thousands of listeners listening to these episodes. A lot of them were probably in a similar place where you were maybe 5 years ago, like, back to the analysis paralysis, or taking action, doing your homework, but still taking action. Like, what would you want to tell them? Like, what helped you get over the hump?
So I think because I was so broke that I stayed in the worst Airbnbs. I was like,
You
oh, I got this.
wait, okay, wait, hold on. Just to make sure I'm tracking. So you're saying,
the bar was
holy
so
God,
low
the bar
of
is
what we
so low.
I can at least outperform this, right? And there's always going to be people who are better than me, but that's not in my price point. So I'm not worried about them. That's a different market, right? I'm
Yeah.
focused on, and of course, mine have gotten better. In 2018, our Mississippi house was ranked #1 in Gulfport by Airbnb. And so,
No kidding.
you obviously grow, right? You don't stay there, but you know that it's just a starting point, and that's how it's supposed to be, and it's okay. And you don't have to be this millionaire who buys and furnishes the perfect place and has the best everything to begin with. It is just like in your own life, you're growing, and you don't have to. You're not going to be perfect. I'm sure the very first podcast y'all did was probably like, oh, that's embarrassing, right?
Oh yeah, Mike Foster was at Ramstein Air Force Base, like waiting for his like C5 or whatever to fly him back to the United States after I can't remember. I think he was like after a deployment or something, just like with his ATR mic. Just I could hear like airmen or something in the background. But yeah, like you start.
And
Yeah.
you just learn and you grow, and it's okay. And I just say experiment. Treat it as an experiment, and it doesn't have to be how you identify yourself. Like, don't put too much value into, I guess, the results of it at the beginning, because no one is happy with the results at the beginning, and even when you think that you've like, oh, I've mastered this, I'm doing such a great job, you'll look back, in 3 years and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that.
Every
And
time,
that's
right?
okay. Yeah.
Well, do you ever have like this? I think I call it so. The first podcast interview I was ever interviewed, I was describing this thing in my head where I remember a previous moment where I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but then like a few months or a year later, I succeeded in that thing. And I remember being in that moment and looking back like, oh my gosh, where did this year go by? And holy cow, I know exactly what I'm doing now. Like, and so it's not reliving that, but it's remembering there were times in your past where you started something, you didn't know what you were doing, but you kept, it's kind of like the Martin Luther King thing where it's like, you don't have to know what's at the top of the stairs. You don't have to see the top of the stairs to take the first step, but you kept walking. And then you had this moment where you're looking back like, holy cow, I figured it out. And so I kind of started like with real estate. That was one of those things I was like, I know basically you have to trust yourself that you're going to figure it out. And in fact, like a very weird way, enjoy when you feel
Messy?
pressure. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to figure something else out. Yay. Like, does that make sense?
Exactly.
Is that
100%? And it's not just everything you're going to get. It's not going to just be in a book. It's through life experience. And the earlier you do it, the better. Just start now. And that way you don't have regrets of, the I should have, could have,
right?
that I think so many people find themselves in. And then not only that, but go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna say, just to leap to like another topic from that.
Sure.
If we had not done everything we had done when we did it,
Yeah.
I ended up having an array of like, I didn't understand what was going on with my body, but I had these horrible health situations that, had it not been for the measures, like everything I'd put in place and the team that I had built, had I not
Right.
established that already, I would have probably had to sell the houses. I wouldn't have had the ability
Wow.
to maintain that. But because I already had this passive income set, I was able to still be providing for us in some degree and not have these stressors of, I was able to put all of my business building kind of on the back burner and just focus on what was important in that season. And you
Yeah.
never know what's going to come ahead. Maybe you have your own health issues, or you have children, or they have their health issues, or just
Right.
whatever happens. Just to be able to know, have the comfort of, I already put all of this in place. And
Right.
when it comes to Evan's career, I mean, he has a great disability insurance and life insurance policy, like, thank God. But if there's ever a point where he just burns out and he's like, you know what, I'm tired of being a surgeon. My goal, I've been telling him this since the beginning, is to be able to have enough passive income that it replaces his income so that we have this financial independence to do whatever we want. And I think that
Awesome.
so many people, I hear these horror stories of military spouses, whether it's just moving situation that's adding complexity to their income, or they are in a situation where maybe the marriage isn't going the way they thought it would, and they feel completely trapped and they don't have any options and it's scary and all they have to their name is credit card debt and maybe their name is on a mortgage but they don't have anything else. And to be able to take advantage of this season of life where you can get zero down VA mortgages
Yeah.
or whatever, and you can take advantage of, hey, I'm in this duty station for a season. I can build up a team. I don't have to do this super fast where I'm losing money. Instead, I can take advantage of, hey, I'm living here. I'm testing out the waters during TDYs or vacations, whatever it is. I'm coming up with this where I'm comfortable enough to leave this, and you just keep repeating the process over and over again. That's been our plan this whole time, and it's worked beautifully.
Holy cow. I think that's super powerful. I really hope that I hope a lot of people hear this message, especially a lot of military spouses that maybe felt the same way. Like we all hear the stories of like, somebody had to transition from their job or they lost their job or had to quit their job because of a PCS. And then, but maybe more than just a paycheck was tied to that. It was your identity. And then you're in a place with new people and you're like, what can I do here? Or I think it's not lost on anybody that like the best way to feel less anxiety is to have control of the situation. But you also need to have somebody just point you in the right direction. So I really hope that your story will help people understand like it doesn't matter even if you're starting off with just $1,500 in your pocket or you're already in debt on something. Like you can make especially in the military, and this is why I'm thankful for the military, things like the VA loan, and actually you can look at a lot of the difficulties of the military as ways that are also good. Like the obstacle is the way, right? We're moving.
Yes.
Okay, so we see different duty stations. You can buy more houses. There's so many ways that you can look at the military as actually a key to success instead of it being like something that's hindering you. And you moving is forcing you to think creatively and rely on people and systems. That is ultimately what's going to allow Evan to break free whenever he wants to, because you're making it so that it's sustainable while you're moving around, right?
Right. Well, I think so many times it's really easy to get caught up in this victim mindset. And instead, it's really, really important that we rewrite our story. We're the victor in our story. How can we use our disadvantage to our advantage? And I think ultimately, the people who are the most successful in life, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the saying goes, let's make lemonade out of these lemons, right? And what about, okay, you were saying, or we were talking a little bit how like things get tough and messy. And then you were saying that when life got tough and messy and like, health concerns, actually what you had invested in previously was your saving grace almost. I think I have a similar story. I know. So my parents were not planning on doing this kind of investing at all. Very much, and I say this all the time, very much old school saving money away. But I convinced them, and I'm not going to go into the whole story, to invest in real estate. And we bought an apartment complex together. Well, a year, like shortly after, or somewhere during that time, I can't remember exactly the timing of the events. Well, my dad lost his job. And then they had to move to a year later to where his new job was going to be. So he was not showing, he didn't have a W-2 anymore, other than his upcoming new job. And they were moving to a more expensive place. having the income from the property we bought was what allowed them to then buy a new home to where they were moving, gave them the timeline and the,
That
just the
cushion.
freedom to that cushion to figure things out there while their old house was getting sold and everything else kind of like dominoed and fell into place. But it wouldn't have hadn't I remember being on the phone call with their loan officer and explaining, yeah, this thing produces cash flow. This is, send you the financials, and boom, they qualified for the loan. And they wouldn't have
Had it not been.
had I not somehow, like, I don't know what would have, I honestly don't know. It was such a year of turmoil for them, going from one job to another. And that pressure really turned into a diamond. And now we're doing more together. And now basically, my dad's making more from that one property that we still own than from his professor salary. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think both of us are a testament. I'm just thinking about some of the listeners that are like trying to maybe decide whether to take the leap of faith or get over that analysis paralysis. Like, you can write that story, right? Like, you can be the victor of your story, like you said.
Absolutely. And your pathway to investing can completely change. It was really awesome going to the conference last year that y'all had, ADPI Con. I know y'all are rebranding. It's REICon.
Military recon.
Yeah. Recon. Yeah. And just being able to learn about other types of investments. Like, I didn't know about syndications. That was like way out of my knowledge. And again, it's the, like, you don't know what you don't know. So something like that, those conferences are amazing to go to because you learn all the things, or at least you're exposed to things that you're like, oh, I need to learn about this. It's kind of that entryway. And so with my health, and it's gotten better, so much better recently. But in the last 2 years, it was quite a struggle that instead it was, okay, now I'm going to research. I want to be on the investor side of these syndications, or potentially, looking at different bonds and funds, and just learning about all those different things and feeling confident to take that next step. And so I'm excited about
awesome.
being able to do that, being able to write a book that will also produce income.
Let's talk about
It's not just, the short-term rental or the Turo. I think that being able to have those cushions that allow you to be flexible in place and invest time into learning something new is always just that great next step.
I really want to dig into your book right now because I feel like your book probably will be a culmination of a lot of what we talked about today. Is it like, who is this book for?
This book is for the military spouse.
Awesome.
I think a lot of times there's leadership books and finance books that are maybe geared to the active duty member.
Right.
But this is going to be a little bit of someone who understands the sacrifice, someone who understands having to give up their career and what that feels like and how to have the correct mindset moving forward so that you can ultimately make the best decisions for yourself and your family.
Love that. And is some of the book going to be geared towards investing, or is it going to be towards some? Okay. Oh, really? Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like mostly mindset.
There's going to be some investing. There's going to be some protecting yourself, protecting like your assets and your own financial situation, because I think that a lot of times there's these situations that the spouse, maybe their husband got PTSD and now it's hard to find a job and now it's her turn. And well, she's given up her whole, this 20-year gap in her career and now the stress is on me to provide. And, just trying to eliminate that from happening to so many military spouses and that common story that I hear that's just so disheartening.
Yeah. No, I am so excited for you and for that book. I think your experiences will be able to really make it a page turner of value. So I'm pumped for you, and I really, whether it's another podcast someday or we'll do like maybe a live video, just like talking about whenever you do launch and publish that. Let us know. I'm really excited to promote it. I'm excited. I think it's going to help a lot of military spouses. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything in the book about getting your spouse on board with this stuff?
I'm glad you asked that because it hadn't crossed my mind, but that's definitely a huge thing that happened in our marriage. I was the one who was the investor, the managing the money. I was the one who is very entrepreneurial focused. And Evan was just like, I make enough money. Why? Why are we doing this? This is just stress, like an added stressor. And I'm thinking, no, this is
No, no,
going
no.
to this is
You're
going to
gonna
help us
thank
in
me
the
one day,
future.
mister.
Yes, 100%. Like you're gonna be so thankful. And I remember going to the first my first, it was the Active Duty Passive Income Conference, and that was the one in San Antonio 2 years ago. And I
Yeah.
went to it by myself,
Oh, really?
and
You were by
I
yourself? I didn't
told
know that.
yeah. Yeah, and I told Evan, I said, I'm not giving you an option. You're coming to this next year, and this is when it's like this is when it's gonna be. And so I signed okay. I signed us both up, and after I think it was the first day sitting through everything, he was like, I get it. And there was finally this like sense of appreciation for what I had started building and what I was continuing to do for our finances and for our financial freedom. And
Awesome.
we're signed up for the one this October. Super excited about that. And
Back in San Antonio. You mind
yeah,
if I hijack a little bit? Just let everybody know, because this is probably
please.
the first. Yeah. So guys, I don't know when this is gonna come out. Maybe in 2 months from now. It's mid-April right now, but we're gonna be in San Antonio again on the Riverwalk again at the same Westin that we all loved from that time. For those that were at that one, you remember that y'all were a bunch of like just crazy coffee drinkers and drank everything the hotel had, they threw at you, and you guys drank all of it. So, but this time we're making sure there's going to be more coffee, just like we did in Denver. But hey, it is going to be fantastic. We're leveling it up even more. And I don't have this prepared right now, but by the time this releases, if you guys really want to get tickets, it is now called the Military Real Estate Investing Conference, or, military recon, if you will, kind of like play on words. But the way to get to the website, an easy way, is if you just go to activedutypassiveincome.com/conference. And so by the time this releases, ticket sales will be well underway. I mean, it's going to be a full house, and what we're preparing is going to be even better. We're learning every time. And I think what we learned is we really like the San Antonio vibe. So looking forward to seeing you guys there again, Caitlyn.
I'm so happy that y'all chose San Antonio. That's where Evan and I are both from. Our parents are there, so we get to
Wait, I didn't know that.
take
That's
advantage
cool.
of that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And we booked our hotel yesterday. Super excited.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have like a short-term rental, like breakout room or something, and we can all huddle up together, and you can share a lot of your knowledge bombs there. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Gosh, I'm excited, everybody. Definitely, if you want to, if nothing else, I talk about this a lot on some of my master classes, is that it's seldom that both people in a relationship get that spark at the same time, right? And it's not because one is different, better, whatever. It just statistically, it's rare to have same type of mindset and for the idea to hit at the same time, and both of y'all are in a relationship together. And so I always say, like, stack the deck in your favor. Like, I know that with Katya, she fully supports what I do, but she didn't always understand it until I didn't have an ADP icon to go to kind of show her, what we do. And so, but once I spent enough time and she kind of had that moment that Evan did where he was like, oh, I get it. That's when things kind of started skyrocketing. Everything started getting better because having that understanding and support at home was so great. So we have a lot of couples, I think, come to ADP Icon in general now. We see a lot of like ticket doubles getting purchased all the time because I think seeing each other in person, witnessing that excitement in person, and getting your whole family team on board, because like real estate is no joke. It's a big decision for the whole family.
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Absolutely.
So when I was in San Antonio 2 years ago, I guess 2.5 years ago, for that first conference I attended, we're all sitting down. We find out everyone asks, where are you stationed? All those questions, right? And the person sitting right next to me Landon Fillmore. I think you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
We were the only people from Alaska, and we were sitting right next to each other. I thought, how in the world
What
did
are the
that
odds?
happen? And with that, we were so pumped and so excited about everything we were learning. He started the ADPI cohort, or he started, I guess, the like Anchorage location for people meeting.
Yeah, the meetup. Yeah.
And he also did did he also do the cohort? I think he did.
He did. Yeah.
But so
he just closed on a fourplex too. Yeah.
I know. Awesome. And so I think he just PCS'd to Italy. So someone else is going to have to take the reins over the Anchorage location investing. But what's awesome is that he's been able to come to us as like, hey, I have an investing opportunity, right? And same with other people in that group, because like we want to invest and have just these other passive opportunities because of just different stressors in our life. Maybe we don't have the time that I'm ready to like physically get another house, right? Because there's a lot with that. But it's okay. So let me learn these other avenues, and I'm learning alongside them as maybe I want to be a passive investor. And so there's another gal, her name's also Caitlyn. And so she's reached out to me about, like, hey, you interested in a hard money loan situation? I'm like, I am. Please tell me about this. And so with that, and there's a property manager who's on that team too, that's helping people. So the networking that you get at these events, they carry on to other things, and it's so much more valuable. And going back to the like, well, how do you know what to do in those first steps, and how do I know who to hire? Well, maybe if you attend the conference, you'll find the people in your community who have already established themselves in that area. And so that's what I recommend.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Yeah. I just think that it's so valuable for people because when I hear you say something like that, yes, selfishly, I'm like, I want more people at the conference. It's going to be even better. But also I just know that is the push that some people need to change their life. Like literally buying one property because you meet one person at an event could domino it's like the butterfly effect. Everything changes, and sometimes an in-person event is just the most impactful, probably because communication is the most impactful in person, right? So, gosh, thank you. That is a great story. I didn't know that you guys met Landon right then and there. That's really cool. He's crushing it, and I love how he tells his story in every single step. So, yeah, that's awesome. How about this? Let's make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with you if they'd like to talk about anything, Alaska, anything, short-term rentals. What's a good way for somebody to get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So if they want to email me or us, we have a new email now. It's so official, Markian. I've just grown since the last one.
Oh, wait. Do you got your own? Like it's not at Gmail anymore?
It's still at Gmail, but it's not my It's not just like my personal.
Okay, I got you. Okay, it's all right. Sorry, I didn't mean to like diffuse your bubble there.
No, it's okay. Hey, it's we're growing, right? But if they want to email me at Dannhardt Investments, that's DANNHARDT investments plural @gmail.com. That's it.
Perfect. No, awesome. Also, obviously, you're an ADPI campus, so if you guys join our community, they're there. You guys can DM, hang out, post with each other. Awesome. I think that your story is incredibly inspiring. I think it's going to help a lot of people maybe make that first venture out to a conference, maybe get their first short-term rental, maybe just not be stuck in analysis paralysis, but kind of trust that whatever stressors come their way, that they'll be able to figure out the next steps, especially if you're a military spouse and whatever the military situation, maybe it didn't pan out exactly how you were planning for your career. So this is a great way to make a huge impact on the family, right?
Yeah, and I think self-publishing was who y'all had there, and they're the reason. Yeah. It was their presentation during the conference that I was thinking, I have no choice. I have to write this book, right? And so I didn't go into that conference thinking that I was going to be doing that. And you're just exposed to so many things that are just very, very helpful and practical tips, and finding people that like you have their personal phone number that they might be one step ahead of you that you met at the conference. It just brings it makes it just seem more doable. It brings confidence to the path I think that everyone wants to be on.
Yeah. Actually, so that's interesting. That's actually why we design our education the way we do. So for example, it's not me going in, or we're not bringing in Rod Cleef to coach or whatever, like let's say our cohorts, right? So that's where we have like 12 to 16 people going through and learning how to become syndicators, like operators of large multifamily properties and raising millions of dollars. Is we have students who were successful from a few years ahead before do the training. They're just so much closer to that developmental stage that they had just gone through it. So they're the most relatable. They had just felt it on their skin, so to speak, a couple of years ago of going through the same cohort, going through the same next first steps, building up their own confidence and identity as a real estate investor. And so I think that finding, I think, somebody closer to where you are in your journey is huge, right? Even one step ahead, you're just like, that might be all you need to keep taking the next step. So yeah, that's awesome.
The person with 100 properties is a little intimidating to approach, I think, than the person who has maybe one or two.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure if this will be set up by then, but just in case, the team can cut this out of the podcast if we need to. But hey, if you're looking to write a book like Caitlyn, there's an awesome team. We had tons of people sign up to write books with them at the last conference. They did a fantastic presentation on being able to find your voice and write your story and become published and really make an impact and boost your credibility and authority in any space you're in, or just because you want to write a personal memoir. And they help you from A to Z. They're called self-publishing. So I'll make it a ready link for activedutypassiveincome.com/publishing. We'll make sure that that's set up. But Caitlyn, thanks again. So inspiring. I can't wait for your book to come out. Do you have any parting words? Anything you want to, one final message?
Oh, I guess just don't take opportunities to connect with others for granted. I think that's where you grow. That's the biggest. That's where you're gonna have the biggest advantage in life. Is finding others who've been there, who've had their own pain points, and don't want you to experience the same.
Yeah, awesome. As Eric says, your network is your net worth. So, and I'm sure he got that from somebody, but that saying, I think, really like connect with those people. Don't take it for granted. Build your network, and but you kind of, actually, let me pause real quick there. You kind of have to build your brand when you're doing that, right? Do you find yourself branding yourself at all? I know we were about to wrap up, but holy cow, I think this is an important point. I want to know. I want to know how you think about this. Do you brand yourself a certain way? Do you talk about yourself in a certain way so that people will remember you? Do you ever think about that?
Well, that's a good question. I think that I'm very intentional to how I maybe portray myself and the language that I use, the direction that I'm headed, just being very goal oriented and making sure that the people that I'm around know that. And usually your excitement for what your goals are drives other people to be equally excited and want to help. If you're passionate about something, it's kind of contagious. And so I think that just keeping all of that in mind and knowing that as you're building, people are going to look back at the past you on social media and all those things. So it's just kind of being mindful. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're asking.
No. I think you said it basically in the goals part. It sounds like what you're saying is your brand and what you talk about, how you portray yourself, is congruent with what your goals are. So you talk about what you want to accomplish with your passive income investment soon to be, or like your short-term rental in Turo, and how you want it to produce enough income so that, your family can be fully independent. I honestly, like, my first thought comes is a short-term rental management and living in Alaska. Like, I know you guys, like, to me, that's part of your persona. And I'm just wondering because, like, right now, I know for a fact that if anybody says that they're in Alaska, I'll immediately think of you guys in Landon, even though he's in Italy already, because that was how your brand was portrayed to me, as a person. And so it helps me remember you. So that's just something I wanted to drop as a little bit of advice when you all do go to whoever's listening right now, if you are building your brand, you're telling people your story, think about how you say it, because that will be what they remember you by. And you kind of want to fuse a connection to what you're saying, Caitlyn, is your goals. Like maybe
Well,
let them know what you're working on.
and people will take you as seriously as you take yourself seriously too.
Yeah.
I think that people don't realize the value in that. And the way that you present and perceive yourself is how others will.
Love that. Well, on that note, I'm actually going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Caitlyn. This is so valuable. I can't wait to see your book get published. Please let us all know. And that's about it. Thank you, ADPI, for tuning in. As I always say, do what the cool kids do. Like, share, subscribe. Honestly, if you just want to share this episode on social media because you found it valuable, that means the world to us because we are on our mission of impacting 3 million military families, and we want you a part of that mission. Thank you, Caitlyn, for being a part of that mission. And bye-bye, everybody. See ya.
I thank you.